It is 7 p.m. May we have the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Jim Batson.
Here.
Sarah Benjamin.
Here.
Don Carmichael.
Here.
Cara Drumkey.
Here.
Lisa Hessel.
Here.
Manal Kulkarni.
Here.
Casey Rooney.
Here. Great. We note that everybody is present. Welcome, everyone. To review the agenda, we will start out with communication, which includes an invitation for public comment. Then we will roll into the president's report, including the student school board representative reports. Then we'll have Dr. Herman's superintendent's report, and we will follow that with the consent vote agenda. These are items in length in committee. For the program and personnel committee, Chairman Batson will take us through that, followed by facilities and finance. Chairperson Rooney will take us through. We will discuss an Ombudsman program agreement renewal. A vote will take place, as well as the 2022-2023 IHSA membership renewal for both high schools. A vote will take place on that as well. And then we will receive an update, if any, on the IASB from Dr. Batson and CEDAW from Ms. Benjamin. We'll discuss future agenda items, and then we will have executive session tonight to discuss collective negotiating matters under 5 ILCS 120/2C2, as well as some board self-evaluation 5 ILCS 120/2C16. Following that, we will return to open session. No further action items will be taken, and we will adjourn. So we will start out with public comment. Do we have anybody here that would like to address the board? Okay, did we receive any email public comment?
We did not.
Okay, rolling right along. Then I would like to invite our school board reps to give their report.
All right. So Libertyville is going to start this time. Spirits are high at Libertyville High School as spring break approaches and the weather becomes nicer. Like today, it's beautiful out. I think I got a little sunburn. It might be that bad, but yeah, spirits are great. Students are doing great. But moving past that, this palpable excitement of spring break that is obvious from staff and students. This past weekend, Vernon Hills High School hosted the Best Buddies Prom, which was a smashing success. Members of Best Buddies and their peer buddies, which is a specific buddy that was assigned to them at the beginning of the school year to hang out with and become closer, enjoyed pictures, a DJ, and a delectable dinner. As an attendee, I just have to say, I had a fantastic time dancing the night away with all those in the club, and everybody seemed to enjoy themselves, and it was an unforgettable night. So, well, Libertyville Best Buddies is very grateful to Vernon Hills for hosting it. Moving on, this past week, students who have participated in our Green Dot program gave a presentation about Green Dot to freshmen during their gym classes, during their gym and health classes. For just a quick reminder, because I know I haven't brought up the Green Dot program in a while. In simple terms, it's a program that just focuses on creating kind, respectful, and proactive students. It is responsible for a large part of our Libertyville culture and community. One of the presenters told me that the freshmen really grasped the importance of the Green Dot program at Libertyville High School, and some seem excited to have the ability to go through the program. And then also last week, we had our 8th grade activities fair that was pushed back from January because of COVID. And 8th graders were able to explore in a packed gym full of tables for sports and clubs, all that Libertyville has to offer. I again was an attendee, and I will say that the energy in the gym was refreshing. I can remember back to when I was in 8th grade, coming from a smaller school. It was great to see all that Libertyville had to offer and explore anything that interests me in any way. Future Wildcats and their parents walked around and inquired about any club or sport they might want to do next year. Every student I talked to loved being able to look at the activities that Libertyville has, and we're extremely excited to begin school next year. I was even able to get Dr. K to sign up for one of the clubs I was advocating for. We meet on Thursday, so I expect to see you sometime. It doesn't have to be that or tomorrow or on Thursday, but in the future. Oh, he's a busy guy. It's hard to ring him in sometimes. And if that night was any indication of the types of students Libertyville we're receiving next year, our school will definitely be in great hands. And I'm going to pass it on to Ryan right now.
Winter sports came to a close with Winter Sports Awards Night on March 10th, where athletes and teams were recognized for their accomplishments. The spring season began a few weeks ago and is now in full swing. The boys and girls lacrosse teams had their first games last weekend, and the girls came out with their first 2 wins. Girls soccer also won their first game last Saturday. The boys and girls indoor track season came to a close last Saturday with their meet at Carthage College, where the girls ended up placing second. After spring break, the outdoor season will begin. The softball team also has their season opener tonight, and the baseball team plays as well after winning their season opener. Finally, the girls badminton team competed in the Hersey Invite this weekend, where they received a first place finish. On March 9th, Libertyville offered free EKG screenings to all students. These tests show heart conditions that may be hidden and detect 94% of individuals at risk for cardiac arrest. Students were tested during their PE, study hall, or health classes, and the results were shared with parents. We tested a total of 700 students, and 10 were referred to for extra testing for heart conditions. Lines were long at the beginning of each period, but they moved pretty quickly, and the majority of students were done with their tests within one class period. For most students, the actual test was easy and done within a couple of minutes. This is a stressful time for much of the senior class. Many college admission decisions have just come out, and the rest will be released over the next 2 weeks. That leaves just over a month for seniors to select their school. Many students turn to the CRC, the College and Career Resource Center, for help in making decisions about their future. The CRC provides many opportunities and workshops for graduating seniors, both interested in the college path and alternative pathways. Today, they held a session with 2 Vernon Hills graduates who talked about Indiana's Kelley School of Business. These graduates are now executive members of the Kelley Student Leadership Team and helped answer any questions about the program that our students had. They also held a military march event last Wednesday during flex time, where students of all grades had the opportunity to speak with local military recruiters. These experiences are super helpful for seniors who may not know exactly what they want to do in their future, and they provide a lot of useful information. The CRC also does a great job finding scholarships for seniors and sharing them in their newsletter around the walls of the school or by email. These scholarships could be national, local, or even within our own school, and they make a big difference for many seniors and their future. LHS students were given the opportunity to participate in a mindfulness study done by researchers at Colorado State University. This is a 6-week program where participants wear a watch that tracks things like their sleep patterns and heart rate, as well as go to 6 sessions of mindfulness training. At the end of this study, all the data will be sent to Colorado State for researchers to analyze. All students were given a chance to sign up for the study, and those who wanted to participate attended a 1-hour session each week with Dr. Nelson to learn how to better handle stress and problems within their life. Talking to some students participating in the study, they think it is a really cool opportunity to be a part of research that could have a real-life impact. In addition to the data collecting part of the study, the mindfulness training provides strategies that students could use in their future to be cognizant of their own mental health and wellness. Some teachers are even hoping that the mindfulness training done in the study can be expanded to a broader group of students within the school day. Classes like AP Research would be able to learn about how a study like this could be conducted, as well as benefit from the mindfulness training. And I'll pass it off to Faith.
Coming up to spring break, we're at the end of winter sports, but also fine arts. As I mentioned in the last meeting, some of the events we had taken place at LHS for our winter fine arts were nights such as the winter jazz concert, showcasing a relaxed winter feels to the end of the season and giving everyone a close to open for spring. Also, the winter orchestra concert was showcased, showing a variety of songs LHS orchestra put together, putting in lots of hours to perform, featuring instruments of great diversity such as strings, woodwinds, brass, and percussion. Along with band and orchestra having their performances, solo ensemble was also occurred to not only show our student body talent as a whole, but the individual and group aspect of orchestras and band's ability. Putting in extra effort for a judge to listen to every note can be very nerve-wracking, so congrats to these students. Nikki Aliari, a participant in the solo and ensemble for the band, said she was nervous, but it wasn't as bad as she expected, and she was happy she got the experience to have a more high-pressure performance. Okay, now after recapping the winter events, let's look at spring fine arts and what is in store. The spring play Midsummer Night's Dream by Shakespeare is a huge event for lots of LHS students in theater that is showing April 21st through the 23rd. I spoke with Nadia Simpson, who's participating in the play as a fairy. She said it helps combat her senioritis because it gives her something to look forward to. It's a big task to take on the long hours of rehearsing, but it's something she greatly enjoys. A huge event for lots of LHS students in the theater and something that they can all look forward to. Spring Orchesis also is having an event on May 12th and the 13th. I remember Orchesis was one of my favorite events to watch at LHS, not only because we have amazing dancers, but also because they make all the choreography on their own, which can have a little help here and there. Dancers not only all around LHS, but especially in Orchesis, work so hard to put on amazing performances with all their creativity and imagination. Speaking of students' tenacity and determination in District 128, another true Wildcat award will be announced on March 25th. If you are unfamiliar with what this award is, being that I haven't brought it up in a minute, it's a distinction given to students who embody the school's daring mission and live out their life as a Wildcat. Also, just to add, of course, spring break is right around the corner, so District 128 students can rest up their amazing talent and abilities. Just a reminder that everyone needs a break once in a while and to always check on your mental health, even with the great things happening in District 28. Thank you. And I'm going to hand it off to Vernon Hills.
2 weeks ago, Vernon Hills had their language week. This has become an annual thing for Vernon Hills. But due to COVID, there was no food fair this year where we usually share food from places all around the world. Every day, students in language classes studied a little bit about Germany and their lifestyles. For each language levels, they had a different activity to do. Language levels 1 and 2 created posters about Germany, level 3 created murals, and level 4 made videos. During the week, a German folk pop band came into our studio theater and performed for the students. The students were also able to go up on the stage and dance around to the music and have a fun time. A lot of the freshmen said that this was enjoyed their first experience with the food, with the language fair, and they stated that it was a lot more fun than they expected. Last Friday, we had our last VH Give of the year. The theme for this lesson was lifting each other up. The students did an activity where they wrote the name of someone who lifts them up or someone that they wanted to lift up, and they gave them words of encouragement to make their day. We also had a balloon arc in the foyer to go along with the theme of lifting others up. And in honor of International Women's Month, Dare to Empire invited 3 entrepreneurs from Chicago to talk about their experiences and success. These 3 women were very inspiring during their panels as they talked about what their jobs are, how they have worked to help to improve their communities. For example, one of the speakers, Yemi Payano, is a first-generation Afro-Latino founder of Signs Speak. She works to help support and provide resources for the deaf community. I was able to talk with Katie Goldstone, the president of Dare to Empower, and she said that the panel was super successful and everyone who attended loved this opportunity to listen to these successful speakers and also to be able to ask them questions. 2 weeks ago, the other board members and I were able to attend the strategic planning meeting. This is a really great experience for me because I was able to talk with different board members of our community, and also other students about how we can work to improve our school. It was really cool from a student perspective to see like the behind the scenes of how the board works to create the best environment for us. I was really interested in the topics of the meeting, so I decided I wanted to use this as my civic engagement project for AP Gov. And overall, it's a really cool experience, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity. The new softball team has new turf fields and batting cages. Sophie Bernheim, a member of the varsity team, says that they appreciate the new additions and they are super excited to put everything to good use during the season. And they say thank you to the board. The lacrosse teams have been using the new Park District turf fields, and I'm on the girls team and we got to use it today after school for the first time. And it was really nice because normally the lacrosse teams get the later time slots for the stadium, but because of the new fields, we're able to practice right after school, which is more convenient for a lot of us students and for the coaches. And now I'll pass on to Sophia.
On March 4th, the first ever VHHS Affinity Project meeting was hosted in our cafeteria. Senior Anthony Zarate Espinosa organized and ran this event with the help of other students who were passionate about the cause. The group's mission was to open a space for all students to learn about each other's cultural traditions and to discuss how race plays a part in being a VHHS student. I really enjoyed coming to this event and ended up sharing my own ideas about how race has played a significant part in my high school experience. My small group got to discuss both lighthearted and heavy topics about trying to fit in, experiencing microaggressions, and forming friendship cliques, all due to racial differences in school. Food was also offered at this event, and parents brought in all types of cultural dishes for students to indulge in foods they've never tried. Feedback for this group was very positive overall, and we hope that this group can continue to meet and discuss these issues in a safe space for future improvement in diversity and inclusion at VHHS. If there was one consensus that the groups agreed with, it was the need for multicultural social groups at VHHS due to racial disparities between college prep and AP classes. With the conflict in Ukraine becoming more tense, certain students have been keeping up with the news due to personal relationships with people who currently live in Ukraine. In particular, seniors Dasha Lukanova and Liza Kalika have family residing in the middle of the conflict, and they wanted to do the best they could to help them out. They used the European MEEST organization, along with the help of Slavic Student Association, National Honor Society, and the girls' water polo team to organize the drive from March 4th to March 7th. More than 115 boxes of supplies, 8 carloads full, were dropped off at a local restaurant, Varanicho, owned by Dasha's family. From there, a truck from MEEST collected the items for shipment to Europe. Slavic Student Association is a new club at VHHS sponsored by Mrs. Gong, and they've been using the first meetings to discuss the conflicts and how the situation has affected them. On Saturday, March 19th, Best Buddies hosted their annual prom combined with LHS. The event was Disney themed, and the Best Buddies leaders arrived early in the afternoon to put up decorations, set out the food, and prepare the West Gym for the celebration. A DJ joined the event to play all kinds of Disney songs, and the buddies danced the night away with their friends. They had a great time and really appreciated their peers for preparing everything in advance. Olive Garden was also served to everyone after dancing, and people couldn't stop talking about how good the breadsticks were. Overall, it was a great success. Last Friday, Vernon Hills held our senior talent show, Top Cougar. Each contestant was able to rent a tux for this event from Men's Warehouse so they can show off their cool tuxes during the wardrobe portion of the show. Each contestant performs a wide variety of talents, from playing the guitar, piano and singing, to playing the kazoo, and even escaping from a cardboard box. The audience was able to vote on who they thought was best, and those contestants moved on. Then the remaining contestants performed a lip sync and answered questions from the teacher judges. In the middle of each portion, the audience was able to watch acts from improv and the a cappella groups. Neil Meta won and is the 2022 Top Cougar and gets a free tux rental for prom. Great job to all the contestants. And that's it.
Fantastic.
Super.
Thank you very much, everybody. Well done. Did anybody have any questions for our student board reps? Right. Well done. You guys have become seasoned pros at delivering your reports. Okay, then I will turn it over to you, Dr. Herman, for the superintendent's report.
First, wonderful. I get to build off of the good news the students shared and add some additional things happening across the district. First, we have VHHS senior Sasha Aganova earned a semifinalist honor in the 9th through 12th grade visual arts category of the 2021-22 Anti-Defamation League's 5 Freedoms First Amendment Scholarship Competition. This was her second time receiving this award in 2 years. Students from over 100 schools from the Midwest region participated in the event. Sasha will receive a $100 art supply gift card and has received recognition on the ADL website. More than 100 students nominated for the Regional American Chemical Society's Chemistry Olympiad exam took the test on March 5th and 6th. The results of this very difficult exam are in, and we are proud to announce that 2 D128 students qualified for the national exam. LHS senior Zoe Bolu and VHHS senior Jackie Liu. The national exam, which includes a lab experiment, free response, and multiple choice questions, will take place on April 25th at Loyola University. Congratulations to our District 128 student photographers whose work was selected for this year's 2022 Student Perspective Student Show. From Libertyville, we have Elliot Harold and Liliana Kulig. And from Vernon Hills, we have Shreya Avula, Layla Morgan, and Dennis Tour. The opening reception for the Student Perspective Show will be held on Saturday, April 2nd, and the exhibition will be on display from March 31st to May 1st at the Perspectives Gallery in Evanston. The following Libertyville students were named February True Wildcats: Aditi Nair, London Young, Sophia Tuninas, Hope Wagner, Xavier Granados, Carly Bance, Christian Manley, Ricardo Restrepo, and Deacon Osborne. The VHS and LHS math teams have qualified for the state competition on Saturday. The math team, excuse me, I think I skipped that word. And that will be April 30th. 18 students were named for the March recipient of the Cougar Class Act Award. Abigail Kong, Ashley Levy, Kale Wharton, Emily Jones, Bernice Gonzalez, Ruby Gonzalez, Leslie Ann Benjamin, Daniel Santiago, Andrew Ruditsky, Connor Willems, Daniel Protas, Daniel Schlebev, Jacqueline Gallegos, Charlotte Serber, Daniel Prieto, Carlos Chairs, Pedro Becerra, and Chloe Ravenscraft. Two more good news. Libertyville academic decathlon teams finished 11th out of 40 teams in the state competition held online March 5th. And finally, the Libertyville debate team participated in the IHSA state tournament at ISU last weekend. Seniors Kate Gerber and Alyssa Dorner picked up 6 out of 10 ballots and finished 17th in the state in public forum. Lots of great things happening across the district.
Fantastic.
And next up, we have our COVID update from Bryant.
Yeah, so update on our COVID normal update that we give. So looking at the new CDC COVID-19 levels, Lake County is still in a community transmission low. In fact, the whole state of Illinois is still listed that way. We're still tracking, some of our local zip codes on, positivity rates also on our website. And so you can see that I updated those on March 15th. And we're also doing our local dashboard of students and staff. Last week at LHS, we had one student with a positive case, 2 staff members, and at Vernon Hills, 1 student and 2 staff members. So continue to update that. For anyone watching, they can go to COVID-19 report on our District 128 website. So I'll continue to update that.
Any questions? No? Great. Thank you for sharing that good news. Next up, I wanted to bring back to the board information on the strategic planning. We had a session with the community and with students and parents, and I wanted to sort of give a roadmap of where we are now and where we're going. So I'll pass that out to the board members. I'll wait till everyone gets it. Again, the previous session was on February 21st, and it was actually here in this space. We had approximately 36 people attend. That was staff, parents, community members, and students. We broke up into 6 small groups where we used the daring mission letters as our way of brainstorming ideas for what our vision would look like in the next 5 to 10 years. And we had done a similar activity with our staff. That was the date, February 21st. So I got my dates confused. So we now have input from both our staff and our stakeholder group on the vision statement. So that's why I color coded that one green, that we have drafts that we'll be bringing to the board. The other thing that we did last week with our strategic planning committee is we dug a little deeper into our programs and processes and did some problem solving circles to help us understand not only what the data is showing, but maybe things that aren't measured, but that people are seeing in our processes. How could we capture some of those for implications for our improvement goals? So I indicated that we have made progress on identifying possible goal areas. That work will continue at our next session, which will be April 20th. That is again with the board and our stakeholder groups. We got a lot of positive feedback, as we heard from one of our student board reps who was able to participate and saying, I have a friend. Can I bring a friend? So I think we're going to have even more students participate because their voice at each of the 6 tables was just fantastic. So we look forward to taking this further and narrowing in on our goal areas and potential goal statements. We will then be bringing this back in May to our whole staff for some ideas for them to prioritize that. And then it will be coming to the board, both at the committee meeting and then voting for its approval at the end of May. So from big picture, looking at lots of data, using our daring mission, getting our draft vision statements, now prioritizing some of the needs we've identified and setting goals. So I feel really good. We're on track with our process and just really, really amazing ideas coming from the community and the students. If anyone who participated wants to chime in, I know several board members were here as well as several members from the district leadership team.
Looking forward to seeing the next part of the process. I think the first part was overwhelming at the beginning, but understanding where we were coming to. So I'm looking forward to seeing how we take all of those ideas and try to come up with something cohesive as a roadmap. And I enjoyed the process.
Thank you. It was very participatory. We launched and there was 2.5 hours of people talking about our district and all the great things we're doing and all the things that we could tweak to make more kids even more successful. It was very positive.
It was great to see the community members and watch their reactions to some of the things the students were saying. That it was very interactive that way. And I think it was a very positive experience for everybody who participated.
Yeah, I think it was participative, I guess is a really great term for it. Having been through a number of these, I really enjoyed the mix of voices and sort of, I don't want to use the term forced, but the expected mix of, we didn't stay with one group of people. We mixed it up as the night went on and got to hear different voices from just about everybody. So it was a really interesting process. So.
Really appreciated the student voices around the table, especially and the community members. And it was really exciting to hear the divergent perspectives, but also how common themes and ideas emerged regarding the vision of the daring mission. And I'm sorry, I jumped in as you were about to speak.
You've said exactly what I was about to say. So
I'm even
forget
more
me.
sorry.
No, I was astounded by the commonalities that I was hearing throughout the different groups. And I really enjoyed listening to the conversations and I was pretty astounded by just some of the ideas that were generated by our young people. Never ceases to amaze me what you guys are capable of, and just, the sky's the limit with your imaginations and in the best way. So it was really, really wonderful meeting to attend.
I'll chime in as a student that was there. Just like to say, it was like an extremely unique experience, and it was amazing to be a part of, the vision of this school or of these 2 schools. And I hope to see more students coming out because we're only a brief or a little bit of what the student idea really is. We need more students to come out and participate in these conversations.
I really liked how there was a lot of parents that actually didn't know some things about District 128. Like there was a parent that didn't know that there was a perspectives class at Libertyville. So then Mr. Voss, which was my sociology teacher, got to kind of fill her in on that kind of stuff. And I thought there was a lot of learning going on while everyone was kind of creating a lot of creativity, even though that's very cliche, but yeah.
So we do have, again, RSVPs are very strong for the April 20th. So we'll be sharing the outcomes of the merged staff and community vision statements, getting some feedback on those, and then taking this list of needs and possible priority areas and getting feedback from the stakeholder groups again about where really should we put our attention and how could we craft these into measurable goal statements. So that if I know we've sent the email out, we will resend it. So students, I hope to see all of you there on the 20th. And again, we do have additional students. Again, you're all upperclassmen, all seniors. So we wanted to also have some students participating who would be here next year to see some of this play out into action. So we have underclassmen coming as well.
I just want, oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'll go after you.
No, I'm just sorry.
Speak
I
into your
missed it.
microphone.
I'm just very sorry. I missed it. I just was curious to see if you had any emerging trends or anything that kind of any emerging ideas. Just curious.
I'd be interested to hear what the students were thinking. I guess one of the things that emerged for me on the vision was much more of valuing multiple paths to success, where beyond just access to a four-year college and wanting more career exploration and almost like valuing the whole experience of what post-secondary could be. I think that resonated at almost every group's either through the academic lens or through the future planning lens. But did anything stand out to any of you also?
I feel like honestly, so like we had multiple groups and we were going over all the different parts of the Daring mission. I really liked how we did that too, because it got to section things off. So like she said, it wasn't as overwhelming going over all the different things that we could add to our school, because obviously there's always room for improvement. But I really liked how I got to see a parent's perspective and then they got to see our perspective. And when we combined those two, that's when we really got going on ideas and imagination of what could be and all that different stuff. And I liked how they didn't limit us and all the things we could think of. There was lots of room for, keep going, and I really liked how they had that freedom with the night.
I would just I think you clearly understood what the room was feeling, because we, in all the tables I was talking about, it's like making sure that what we're doing in school is relevant to the student and applies to their future. And the part about exploring multiple pathways, but like also, advertising those, because, we have such a limited view of what you should do right after high school, but allowing students to see beyond that. And, we talked about like bringing in people from different careers that can explain kind of, so students can, move forward and find something that truly they're passionate about.
And going off what like John said about like different paths, I feel like we also talked a lot about like how the students can explore like different careers and like how we can create like more than just like clubs, but also like classes so that students can experience different things, so that like when they go to college, they have like some sort of idea of what they like to do and how like they can make like a career out of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and all I wanted to add, I echo everybody's sentiments. It was a really exhilarating evening for me. And I think that you did a fantastic job of harnessing the investment of time that everybody had come to make in our school with an incredibly thoughtfully and well facilitated evening. So I appreciate that. And I know that the next event will be equally, if not better, because of how well facilitated it was. So thank you to everybody who participated, and thank you, Dr. Herman, for facilitating such a useful, worthwhile use of everybody's time.
And the cookies were amazing too.
We will make
That
sure
was the
there are
highlight. No, I'm just
more
kidding.
cookies. Yes. If you invite people in to share their ideas, you have to honor that with food
Oh,
and
yes,
treats.
with cookies, yes.
All right, so we will move on to, thank you for everyone for sharing. I really appreciate the feedback, as well as sharing like you said, the essence of some of the things that are emerging as being very important to everyone. We had 3 FOIA requests since our last board meeting. The first was a commercial request received on February 10th, and that was from Preston Deedy of Chicagoland Construction, and was requesting information about bids that were opened. We had a second commercial request received on March 9th from Tanya Campbell from Data Bid Company, again, asking for information about opening bids for our asbestos abatement project. And finally, the third is a commercial request that we received on March 16th from Preston Deedy, again, a Chicagoland Construction, asking for bid results for the Foods Lab renovation. All were responded to, and the time taken for these particular ones was, each one was less than 30 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. So we will proceed to our consent vote agenda. Again, these were items that were discussed at length in committee. Did anybody have any comments before I ask for a motion to approve the consent vote agenda? Was there anything that needed to be pulled for discussion?
No, other than the fact that I like to see the educational tour requests back on the agenda.
Yes, agreed.
Makes
We
me
were,
happy.
I have one tiny question.
Yeah.
What's up with Amy Belstra? Where's she going?
Yeah.
She's retiring? She's too young. I didn't know that she was retiring. Wow, it's a sad loss for us.
it is.
blocking it out.
I have.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Well, I found it right on the
Well, good for her.
And we thank her for her many years
Oh, my.
of fine service. With that, I will ask for a motion to approve the consent vote agenda as listed.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Batson,
Aye.
Benjamin,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Drumkey,
Aye.
Hessel,
Aye.
Kulkarni,
Aye.
Rooney.
Aye.
Great, motion passes, and I will turn it over for our Program and Personnel Committee report to Dr. Batson.
Thank you very much. First on the agenda for the program and personnel is the annual staffing report. This, like all the other items, or many of the other items on the program and personnel report, were reviewed earlier in the month at some detail. The annual staffing report is really the once a year we look at the staffing needs for both buildings for the entire district, and come back with a recommendation to the board for what that staffing and the number of various staff members we need to service our students. Bryant, was there any other comments you wanted to make?
So the course selection and staffing process was included in the board packet, and we went over that last week in PMP committee. But just to go over just a brief overview of that selection process, what it looks like. Again, it started way back at the end of November with teacher course recommendations with students. Beginning of December with curriculum guides being updated, teachers meeting with students regarding recommendations. Beginning of January, students begin those course selections all the way through mid-February. We're then course sectioning. So once the students decide on courses, what they're taking, we look at the number of course sections that we can offer, both at Libertyville and Vernon Hills, based off of the number of students that request courses based off the optimum class sizes. And then the number of sections are determined. And then the buildings also work on staffing. So the teachers that can teach those courses, then the buildings, we all come together as a district team. So our assistant principals, our principals from Libertyville and Vernon Hills High School, along with the district team of Dr. Rita Fisher, Kelly Hartwig, Dr. Herman, Dan Stanley, we all come together and work on, again, looking at the sectioning, working at the staffing, and that's all done at the beginning of March. So just a few weeks ago. And then we brought our staffing report to the PMP with our employment recommendations. And so that kind of brings us to today with everything that, we shared in regards to general education staff, special education staff, our EL staff, and I think all the work that's been done looking at changes in course requests and enrollment changes over the years that really model and looking at our numbers makes sense. So that's why we're presenting the annual staffing report tonight.
And were there any changes between our committee meeting and tonight?
There were no changes.
Thank you.
Okay. Can we have a motion, please?
I motion to accept the annual staffing report as presented.
I second.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? As mentioned before, we went into this in some detail, so. Okay, roll call, please.
Benjamin,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Drumkey,
Aye.
Hessel,
Aye.
Kulkarni,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson.
Aye. Motion passes. Number 4B here, I believe we can do under one motion.
Yeah,
right?
so, yeah.
All of those items.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so then 4B off of staffing, then we have our employment recommendations and following, laws of Illinois is looking at our continuing employment for our first year non-tenured faculty, second year non-tenured faculty, third year non-tenured faculty being recommended for tenure, and our fourth year non-tenured faculty being recommended for tenure. So that's the first part. The other one is our what's called non-renewal, non-tenured faculty, part-time. So those that are part-time by law, we release them from their positions. And once they're released, then some of those teachers will be hired back at the April board meeting. So you might see some of these names again at the April board meeting. And just to let everyone know, obviously the names are public now, but we've had individual conversations in the building from department supervisors, assistant principals, and then they'll be receiving, the official notification from the board tonight. But, we have a process that this is not just, we don't say anything to them and hand them a letter. So they'll get personally, they receive a letter, but then also through the mail. But I just want to let everyone know that we do take, staffing and, the people, it's their jobs. We take that seriously and have a lot of conversations. The third one is the honorable dismissal of full-time faculty. So we have a couple of full-time teachers that will be reduced to part-time. And then we had a full-time student services social worker that was hired this year to cover a leave of absence. And so again, they've had conversations about that. So that could all be done in one action.
Okay. Could we have a motion, please?
Move to approve the annual employment recommendations as listed.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Congratulations to the folks that are receiving tenure.
Yeah.
Been an achievement.
And thank you to Bryant and the administrative team for this sort of coincides with the previous motion and really all the work that goes into this. This is not an easy task by any stretch. So there's a lot of background work in this. So I thank you for that. Okay, if no other questions or comments, could we have a roll call, please?
Carmichael,
Aye.
Drumkey,
Aye.
Hessel,
Aye.
Kulkarni,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Benjamin.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Next on the agenda, textbook adoption requests for the 22-23 school year.
So these requests represent new textbooks that teacher teams are proposing to the board to adopt. This follows a process of reviewing potential textbook resources aligned to the course curriculum as one of the resources used to teach the curriculum, one of the resources to support student learning. So these are district-wide teacher teams who have reviewed new textbooks and are requesting adoption for potential purchase as part of the budgeting process as well. The cycle for textbook adoptions has evolved over time. It used to be kind of a standard 5-year adoption. And we've encouraged, because there are so many free online resources, teachers are curating resources continually, that has moved beyond kind of a standard 5-year adoption to a careful review of the resources available and a request at 6 years or later. Some teams have pushed their requests out multiple years beyond 6, as you'll see from the original adoption date of some of the texts being proposed as well. So we're asking the board to consider these new textbooks for use in the next school year as requested by teaching teams. Happy to answer any questions that you have about the list. We reviewed these in committee as well.
Mm-hmm. Any questions or anything? Okay, could we have a motion, please?
I motion to approve the textbook adoption requests as presented.
Second.
Okay, no further questions. Can we have a roll call, please, Carolyn?
Drumkey,
Aye.
Hessel,
Aye.
Kulkarni,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Benjamin,
Aye.
Carmichael.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. And then finally, item D is employment of employees. These are four individual action or one action for four individuals that came in after the committee meeting earlier in the month. So we need to take some action on this.
And we do have one person who's here in our audience to be introduced. So.
Okay.
Great.
Let's go through this. Can we have a motion, please, first?
I move to accept the employment of employees as listed.
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board on these?
I'm assuming that the process was very similar to the process that we discussed at our last general meeting. These are a couple of new administrative positions you advertised. We had.
Yes, I was just going to describe that. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for asking. So you'll see that item one, we are recommending our very first Director of Equity and Inclusion to be starting on July 1st. And that person is with us this evening, Larry Varn. Larry, if you want, we're going to ask you to go to the podium and say a few words of welcome while I talk about the process that identified Larry as the person we think is going to do amazing work here for our students and staff. We had about 36, I believe, applicants for the position. We did phone screeners with over a dozen people. We had 6 candidates come in for first round interviews. And again, that was staff from both campuses, administrators. And then we had 2 people come in for the final round interviews. And we are so pleased that Mr. Varn is going to be joining our team. And again, he comes to us. He is currently a high school principal, so has a lot of experience at the secondary level at Rich Township. And I'll let him describe a little bit more about himself and his family and his joining our team.
Do you mind if I interrupt just once so we can do our roll call so that you're absolutely official? And then we love to hear you, but I think that would be appropriate. Roll call, please.
Hessel.
Aye.
Kulkarni,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Benjamin,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Drumkey.
Aye.
Now it's official and welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening, board. Dr. Herman, District 128 administrative staff, faculty and staff, students, and the community of District 128. I'm extremely excited, honored, and yet humbled to be the first Director of Equity and Inclusion for District 128. Diversity and equity and inclusion, it doesn't look like any one of us, but it does look like every one of us. Everyone learning together, everyone working together, everyone giving back together, everyone leading together. Simply put, we are better together and we're stronger together. And this work is about evaluating ourselves and our systems and our practices to make Libertyville High School and Vernon Hills High Schools institutions where people of diverse backgrounds are not just allowed to exist, but they are inspired and committed and dared to thrive. We really are dreamers and doers. Every child, I believe, dreams of success. Equity ensures that every child has access to the opportunity to succeed. Inclusion ensures that there's a space and a place for every child to be reflected and see themselves in that vision. Ultimately, District 128 is the place where every child's dream can become their reality. I'm excited to be joining this great team and to lead this work that we will do together. Thank you, board. Thank you, everyone. I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you so much. And again, welcome. Looking forward to working with you. I guess I can take the prerogative here also to give a shout out to my colleague Temple Murphy for his promotion here. And that's a great news for the district. So I wish him all the best as well. That concludes program and personnel.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, Facilities and Finance Committee, Chairperson Rennie.
All right. Starting out with the LHS and VHHS Coke contracts. I think our goal here is to kind of try and align both of these contracts so they can be rolled into one since they were timed out differently. Dan, any comments? I know they have to be voted on separately. Need a drum roll or?
I'm sorry. Too excited about Larry. What was the question?
Just if you have any comments about the LHS and the VHHS Coke contracts.
No, so these are, well, yes, sorry. Short comments. These are amendments for existing contracts that we have. I've shared them with you. You should all have access to them. These amendments really do two things. One, it acknowledges the COVID year, which was lost, which to be honest, the previous contract had that in place. That was every right to say, well, we're not selling any Coke, so there's nothing for us to contribute to the school. So that was perfectly within the right in the existing contract. This more or less acknowledges that and adds a year to kind of skip that. The second thing it does is it lines up both contracts to end at the same time. So they've had different contracts over the years that have kind of both been cycling on different cycles, the multi-year contracts. These will now both end at the same time. So that hopefully going forward, we can have one contract as a district and not have to have two to manage everything like that. The other thing that I'd say is, so part of the legal requirement that requires board action on this is any contract that is designed to generate more than $1,000 of revenue is required by state law for the board to adopt it. And that's both of what these contracts do. And so that's what these amendments are for.
Perfect. Any questions? Can I get a motion to?
Sorry, I have a quick concern actually, which doesn't have to do with the financial impact or just anything regarding the finances of our renewal, but I was looking through this and I don't know if anyone else had noticed, but on the order, one of the items that is supposed to be in these Coke vending machines are Monster energy drinks. It doesn't quite sit with me well as a parent, as an educator, and knowing that part of our daring mission is to, look out for health and wellness of our students. I just want to share some information I quickly looked up here, but every can of Monster energy drinks has 160 grams of caffeine in it. That is about that's about 2 cups of coffee. And every can of Monster energy drink has 54 grams of sugar. And just to give you some perspective, every Snickers bar, full-size Snicker bar, has 20 grams of sugar. So that's a lot of sugar. It's a lot of caffeine for kids who are in a big stage of growth and development. I know we have coffee available here at Vernon Hills High School, perhaps at Libertyville as well, but I'm uncomfortable personally offering this type of beverage to our students within our schools. We can't really control if they, I assume, bring that from home, but selling it, it just doesn't feel like it aligns with our mission. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the board, see if I had some shared concern and see if there was anything we could do about perhaps offering an alternative, an appealing alternative.
I do share the concern. I mean, I was looking at it purely from a financial perspective before, which made sense. But yes, offering these kind of sweetened drinks, they're an option to replace with something healthier.
And if I may add, I want to bring up a specific example in which a particular student was actually later on, it was found out by the coroner that a student in South Carolina in 2017, I believe he was a 16-year-old student, had a cardiac event in school. So this was 5 years ago, and it was due to the fact they found out in his autopsy that he had essentially overdosed on caffeine. He had had a Monster energy drink, a cup of coffee, and some soda all within a 2-hour span. And, you know, sometimes kids and not just kids, but anyone can be desperate to stay awake, to feel energized and ready to go. And they make some silly decisions about what to put in their body, and they don't use their best judgment. And I see it, you know, quite frankly, as a bit of a liability to offer something like that to students in our schools.
I noticed that Coca-Cola is not on here. It's not one of the things. And schools have had this conversation in the past. It's a good catch on your part. I missed it completely. I don't drink Monster, so I didn't know really anything about it. There's no antidote to caffeine. So if you have too much of it, then you could definitely have a problem. But I think that at some point there must have been a conversation about having sugar drinks in high schools, whether at the state level, or it must have occurred here because Coke is no longer one of the things that they offer, even though that's our contract.
Yeah, we don't have any sugar drinks in our student vending machines, at least that I'm aware of. I don't think we have for years. We do have some sugar drinks that are in the staff cafeteria. So I don't know. And we also don't have Monsters, and I don't think we ever have. So I'm not sure if this is new language, or those would probably be about $10 a piece if they were sold anyway, which I doubt they'd get a lot of action. But we never had them. We're not going to miss them if they're not there.
Right.
I don't know if LHS
question
has
is it-
Monsters in their vending machines, but
Is this something that Libertyville has? Monster drinks?
I don't believe so, but I don't know. I didn't check.
So by
before.
changing, I mean, I thought the amendment was just time. So this is actually changing
No,
their ability.
nope. The list was in the current agreements. So, yeah,
So it
I
could-
couldn't, I have no idea if it's actually offered in the buildings or anything.
Does the school have the option to choose the drinks that they want in the?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we
So
can
we don't
say-
have to
They can't
choose the
force you to
Monster
put- yeah.
drinks. Okay.
So is it possible that we could accept the amendment and say that we'd like, we accept it with the Monster deleted?
I
Is that
think we probably
possible?
have to go back to Coke for that.
Is that going to?
We could say we agree not to order it perhaps, but I don't think we can, if you change the contract, I think we would have to go back to the person we're contracting with.
Sure.
And I guess my question would be if this is the same contract language as before, and it's flexible enough that we can work it out with them that these are the drinks that we want, and we don't want these other drinks, and we haven't had those other drinks, that I don't see that there'd be any reason not to continue that practice. I don't know,
Right.
if we want to stop the process and have to renegotiate the contract just because we want to,
The way I read this graph
Specifically,
though
actually.
is just the commission for if it is purchased.
Right.
That doesn't require us to purchase it. So if we've never purchased it before, then it becomes a day-to-day operations where we're saying we
Yeah.
don't want it in the building, but this is just the commission, should it be purchased?
so whoever's purchasing, we need to make sure that they get that message to say,
Clearly, if they
no, we
don't
want
have it in the
these.
building now, they probably have that
purchase.
message. So.
Yeah.
More of just, I guess, looking for assurance that then yes, this isn't this isn't being ordered.
How would you like to proceed with that?
How are you comfortable following up, since the update to these contracts is sort of under your purview? Do you have a suggestion with how to proceed? Do we need to ask some questions at the building level to find out about the ordering process and handle it that way? Or do we need to have these contracts amended? Or C, something else, or D, none of the above?
Thinking.
Okay.
just from a school perspective, we can easily not order them. So
Right.
I don't know that we need to adjust the contract. We just won't order Monster. That's the will of the board. That's easy. So, it gets ordered through my office. So I'll make sure that we're not selling it in our cafeteria and at our concessions, and I don't think we are.
I've never seen it. at
But
concessions.
I'll just make sure that's an easy thing.
Yeah.
So if that doesn't hold up the contract, then we can just do it that way. But whatever you guys want to do.
Okay.
And what are your thoughts?
Um,
Well, I'm sorry, I should have been more specific. Tom, at the building level, did you have any thoughts along those lines?
Yeah, I don't believe we do have Monster in our building anywhere. Students didn't remember ever seeing it anywhere. And I'm totally fine being in sync with John, and not having that, so.
Thank you.
So can we then ask for an approval of each individual contract with the understanding that the buildings will not be ordering the Monster drinks?
I think that's an excellent way
Mhm.
to
Okay.
put forth the motion and approve it.
Okay, and Dan, that gets you the approval of the contract and you're
Yep,
okay with that?
You can do that, or
Okay.
we can go back and talk about removing that from the contract.
I don't think
altogether.
that's necessary. I've never seen a Monster drink at LHS in a decade. So I don't think that if the buildings agree not to order it, I think that addresses the concern.
I'm just worried there's probably a whole vending machine of Monster down
Yeah. Get over there quick.
Trust me, but I'm gonna go back.
I have a feeling that if it were available, I'd be seeing it in my kid's car.
That's exactly. I'm like, or I would have heard from the principal at the time, because
know,
I
and it's-
guarantee you what my son would have been like on a Monster drink.
And it's interesting that it is the most expensive of all of the items. It's the only,
It's got more ingredients.
Yes.
well,
Yeah.
okay.
Are you comfortable with that?
Totally comfortable with
Okay.
that. I just wanted to bring it to the attention.
Oh,
I didn't,
I'm
you
glad
know,
you did.
I didn't want it to be set in stone that we were suddenly supplying this to students unbeknownst to most of us. So I'm happy with
Good call.
that moving forward.
Okay.
Move to approve the LHS Coke Coke contract amendment
With the understanding.
with the understanding that we will not be ordering at the building level Monster energy drinks.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please, Carol, on that particular contract.
Kulkarni,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Benjamin,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Drumkey,
Aye.
Hessel.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Now we're on to the VHHS Coke contract. Can I get?
Move to approve the Vernon Hills High School Coke contract
you.
amendment with the caveat that at the building level, Monster energy drinks will not be ordered.
Second?
Second.
Okay, motion passes.
Roll call.
I'm sorry, roll call,
Yeah.
please.
Rooney,
Maybe I need some Monster drink. Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Benjamin,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Drumkey,
Aye.
Hessel,
Aye.
Kulkarni.
Aye.
Now the motion
Are you
passes.
taking notes on the government and process here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Monster
Energy drinks, yeah.
Yeah.
At least it's something you guys are familiar with. Okay, moving on to the fax rooms remodeling.
Yep, so as we discussed at committee, we received 3 bids. The low bid pulled out, and so we have 2. And so that bid came in at $1,673,310 to, I don't have it in front of me, huh? Manusos. So that's over the 101.5 million estimate that we had. We talked about that at committee, not the best way for numbers to go. We believe that we are feeling the effects of inflation more than we anticipated we would feel. So this would bring our summer capital over what we had estimated back in January by $361,679. So that's before you. You can approve this or not. You don't approve this, then, you know, the abatement may not make sense. That's coming next. We did already, I don't remember what month ago, but we did pre-order the HVAC equipment. So is that already here?
Be delivered next month.
Being delivered? So,
Okay.
so we've already bought that. And then there's design costs that we talked about. There's that.
Those
too.
are
So,
sunk costs because the design's already been done.
Yep, it's designed, very well designed already. So
Well, and then there's the opportunity cost of not doing it and then the price continuing to go up,
Mhm.
which is always a risk with a construction project like this. Any other
And it
comments?
affects the bottom, it affects the classes. I mean,
Yes,
bottom
it
line
affects the
is-
learning environment, and this learning environment has needed to be addressed for some time.
Yeah, this is a serious investment in improving instructional spaces.
And we discussed previously, we have the money in the budget.
Yes, it was
you have
budgeted.
You have the money to do it. The
But it's
budget
over
is
budget.
the budget. Well, no, so this number was over what we estimated. Our actual budget is not formulated yet. So there's a lot of numbers that go into that budget. And a lot of those numbers are still TBD. So I couldn't tell you that it puts us over budget, but it does put us over what we estimated back in January.
Right. Any other comments or concerns? I know we had some good discussions about this, and like I said, this is a project for a learning environment that has needed our attention. And while it is over what we had hoped it would be and what we were planning on, that is not that surprising given the rate of inflation right now. So how's everybody else feeling about that?
I'm feeling like I'm ready to move.
Move.
Can I get a motion to approve the contract for the LHS fax room remodeling for Manusos General Contracting in the amount of $1,673,000, $310. Let me try that again. 1 million. I think I do need one of those monster drinks. I'm sorry, but
Can't get one here.
exactly.
You're in the wrong
Thanks a lot.
place.
$1,673,310, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Batson.
Aye.
Benjamin.
Aye.
Carmichael.
Aye.
Drumkey.
Aye.
Hessel.
Aye.
Kulkarni.
Aye.
Rooney.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to the LHS fax room abatement that has to go along with this project.
Yep. So this continues our process of steadily removing any asbestos in the building. This is part of that process. We received 4 bids, and by the way, I should remind the reason we're doing this process is because state law requires if you're going to spend this amount of money on a project like this, you have to publicly bid it, and you have to publicly approve it. You have to publicly open the bids. It has to be transparent. So you can't just award these projects to your friends, right? So we received 4 bids on there, and the low bid is for Able Plus. Is that right? Correct. Able Plus, and the amount of $67,000.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this? Obviously, a necessary contingent project to the remodeling, and I think it's a good thing that we continue to be open about our practice of removing asbestos when we're working on projects and making sure that we're taking care of our facilities appropriately.
And to be very clear, it's not that the room is unsafe at this point, but once we renovate it and get it, it's all contained right now. But
When
once
you
you
open it
renovate
up.
it, you're going to open it all up and it
Yep,
needs to get removed.
that's when you open it up that you have some issues, so. All right, hearing no concerns or questions, can I get a motion to approve the Libertyville High School asbestos abatement bid for Able Plus in the amount of $67,000?
So moved.
Second. All right, roll call, please, Carol.
Benjamin.
Aye.
Carmichael.
Aye.
Drumkey.
Aye.
Hessel.
Aye.
Kulkarni.
Aye.
Rooney.
Aye.
Batson.
Aye.
All right. There's also some disposal of obsolete equipment. We did not see this one before in the. No.
Oh, there's a big
No,
list.
but Mick will do this periodically through the year of disposing old technology equipment. And so he includes information there about what he's looking to dispose of. We also use this for asset tracking. And then where he looks to scrap that, I believe this is the same group that we've been using.
Yeah, we
electronics
vetted
recycling.
them a couple years
Mhm.
ago to be sure that they were appropriately disposing environmentally appropriately disposing of equipment.
Yeah, I did have a question. I noticed, I mean, I know I didn't see many laptops, but I did see some iMacs. Do we ever offer these to district employees as buyouts prior to disposing them? I know in my own district, when they're rotating, teachers are able to buy their own laptops. Is that something prior to, if we're wiping them anyway, is that a possibility?
You know, I would have to check with Mick, but I think the majority of these are inoperable.
They can't be updated. Like they're old enough. Jim, you can speak to that. Like they get old enough that they can't run new operating systems.
Right. You can't support the new Windows functions and things like that, that if they're.
Yeah, that's a
purchased
bit
prior
beyond
to
me.
2017.
If they were still operable, in the past, what is done is normally they're donated.
We have done
and-
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've
So
donated,
these-
and this particular group will also give us dollars for things that, you know, it's, most of these are listed as scrap, which indicates to me that they're not operable or pretty much inoperable because of their age. But if it was listed as sell and or donate, this firm could go through this, you know, review these items and give us some dollars for that. I've used this group before too. And
My esteemed colleagues just reminded me that we have done that in the past. So maybe a couple of years ago.
And any credit for these will go to, per this document, the Lake County Haven. So if they are able to sell any of this, it
I was
will
more
go to.
thinking about our employees, if they're already using, if these are, you know, I was looking at the list and I see that some of them are more desktops, but the iPads, if teachers are already using them, I'd like to see that as at least a discussion if it's possible. I know many teachers would want to buy their own electronics if they've already been using them. I know it's not
Yeah.
updatable, but
Yeah, I
some,
don't know. Do the age of some of these, they're probably more trouble than they're worth. Just my wife who has like an 8-year-old iPad, it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
But I guess ours technically still works, but it does not get updated. You're right. So yeah, those are things we can certainly talk about maybe at a future committee.
if there's interest. I mean,
Well, anytime we could do a buy for our staff where they could purchase at a better price, it wouldn't have to be old equipment. It could be new equipment. All you're doing is handing technology and productivity to your staff.
Right.
That I would strongly support that.
Okay. Good suggestion. Can I get a motion to approve this obsolete equipment as presented?
so moved.
Second.
Carol, roll call, please.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Drumkey,
aye.
Hessel,
Aye.
Kulkarni,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Benjamin.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. That concludes facilities and finance.
Okay, thank you. Number 6 on our agenda tonight is the 2022-2023 Ombudsman Program Agreement Renewal.
So we have each year we take some slots and purchase them ahead of time for our students to guarantee slots up at Ombudsman. And it's an alternative education program for some of our students who might be at risk for dropping out of school. And so we purchased slots last year and we have 3 students up there now. And so after talking with Oli Stevens and Greg Stilling, we're purchasing 2 slots for next year and we'll use those slots. If we have more students and like this year we have 2, we purchased after the pandemic. And when they moved also locations, our numbers changed. So this past year, we actually only reserved 1 spot, but because our other student got in there soon enough, we were able to still have a spot for them. So you can add a student halfway through the year as long as they have space. So that's what our agreement is for next year.
Okay. Can I please have a motion to approve the 2022-2023 Ombudsman Program Agreement Renewal?
So moved.
Second.
Great. Any discussion? Hearing none.
This was either you have this, you use it or you lose it if you order more than two, right? So, but you can always add on. So
As long as they have openings there, yes.
They have
Yeah,
openings, right? This is just guaranteeing us the 2 slots.
correct.
Great. Anything else? Okay, roll call, please.
Drumkey,
Aye.
Hessel,
Aye.
Kulkarni,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Benjamin,
Aye.
Carmichael.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Number 7, the 2022-2023 IHSA membership renewal for Libertyville and Vernon Hills High Schools. This is the Illinois High School Sports Association, and it looks like there's some good news there.
So each year you just have to, you have to renew to be part of the Illinois High School Association. So both of our schools, there is no membership fees to be part of the IHSA each year. But it is that we have to, the board needs to agree to be part of the IHSA.
Great. Can I have a motion to approve the 2022-2023 IHSA membership renewal for LHS and BHHS?
So moved.
Second.
Great. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Hessel,
Aye.
Kulkarni,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Benjamin,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Drumkey.
Aye.
Motion passes. Number 8, IASB. Do we have any update?
Yeah, I have a couple things I was going to mention here. First of all, y'all tonight received, every one of us received the IASB Constitution position statements and belief statements. This is the official document that came out of this past process and from the resolutions committee from November, that kind of thing. So this is our current set of resolutions. The resolution process typically starts next month in April so that districts can submit resolutions if they care to. I haven't gotten any notice that it's open yet, but as soon as they do, I'm sure we'll all hear or I'll pass along that information. So if anyone has any resolutions that you would like to submit for consideration, it goes to a committee, they review those and then publish them later in the year as proposed resolutions. And then eventually I've been representing the board on that meeting, which is the official meeting of the IASB in November. So more on that to come, but this is just to acknowledge what that is. Acknowledge the dinner meeting that we had earlier in the month for our Lakes Division. It was interesting. Michael Jacoby, who is the executive director for the Illinois Association of School Business Officials, talked about budgeting and the funding impacts. A lot of discussion about ESSER funds and things like that. A lot of it was geared towards board members to help us, better understand where that comes from, how to use those and how to best leverage those and how to understand what people like Dan, how the things that they talk about. So it was a very good meeting. I was actually able to meet with, sit with a number of our colleagues from the District 70 board. So I got to meet some of them and have nice conversation with them. So it was worthwhile, not only from a learning perspective, but from a getting to know our neighbors perspective. And then one last thing, recently, and you may have seen some emails about this, but I wanted to acknowledge this and make sure that we're all aware of it. Earlier in the year, the Illinois Association of School Boards pulled out of the National Association of School Boards. A number of states did that. I don't even remember how many, but a very large number of states pulled out of that national group because of some activity that leaned towards political that a lot of the groups didn't feel was appropriate for that group. The IASB is actually helping and spearheading a new organization. So the Consortium of State School Boards and Associations, they're moving this really quickly. They're organizing, they're creating, bylaws and whatnot, and they expect to have a conference coming up in this coming year. So more to come on that, but just to be aware that we're no longer part of NASB, and that we will be potentially, reaping the benefits of this other more national organization that our association is helping form. So that's it from IASB. That's probably the longest IASB report in a while.
Well, thank you. And it's certainly not reflective of the time that you spend representing us, the ISB. So thank you for investing your time in doing that and representing us. CEDOL.
Yes, so to remind anyone watching, CEDOL, SEDOL stands for the Special Education District of Lake County. There are some students within our district who attend CEDOL schools. So these schools exist to provide education for students who have particular disabilities or need extra supports outside of what we can provide here at school. So it was actually a super quick meeting. I think it set a record at 28 minutes. Everyone was absolutely astounded. But basically the two things that happened were that we were reminded that both the governing board and executive board are looking for new members. So that's kind of an upcoming thing to elect some new board members. And then additionally, we were educated about the CEDOL Foundation. If anyone's interested, I can give you more information on how to support this foundation. It's similar to our District 128 Foundation for Learning in that it kind of, fills gaps or provides enrichment and funds for those enrichments, be they in the classroom, extracurricularly, or otherwise. So they have a number of fundraising events every year to help raise funds for that foundation. If you are interested, you can let me know. I can direct you. They do have some really fun events like golf outings and dinner dances. And so it's not just for a great cause, but it's a great time. And that's it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, number 10, any future agenda items that we'd like to discuss?
I would like to have an update on our Vernon Township Energy Resiliency Commission. There will be 2 meetings of that commission prior to our next general board meeting. One of those meetings is the night of the special board meeting. So I have to choose which thing to go to. But there's one on Wednesday. And then just a quick question, Dan, have they been in the buildings? Do you know? Have they come out here yet?
G.
No. Okay. So the meeting on Wednesday is to talk about what school districts have as a result of them coming out to take a look at the places, what they might be interested in doing. And so we don't know that yet, but maybe by April we'll have a better idea.
Thank you. Look forward to getting an update on that. And thank you for your work on representing the district, to you and Dan both, for representing the district on that commission. Any other future agenda items we'd like to discuss?
I'll remind you again that already for April for the committee and then for the meeting, we will be having our first annual report to the board on our equity plan policy. So very excited to share that with you both at committee and at the meeting.
Great.
And then just a reminder that our board meeting is being moved from Monday to Tuesday. So it'll be the 26th instead of the 25th because of the Ed Red dinner.
Very good to know. Thank you for that reminder.
And when is Dan going to bring I forget the words for the tax, handling of the tax and the deferred taxes?
At a future committee meeting. Could be as soon as April. Probably not sooner than that. Because it's March. That's what we did have that on our committee meeting as a future agenda item for a future committee meeting.
Yeah, I noted that we would discuss options and implications at our next committee meeting, which will be in April.
We'll be at our next committee meeting in April.
All right, everybody. Any other future agenda items? Okay, so number 11, when I ask for a motion, we will move into executive session for the purposes of discussing collective negotiating matters 5 ALCS 120/2C2, as well as board self-evaluation 5 ALCS 120/2C16. When we adjourn from executive session, we will return to open session for the purposes of adjournment. No further action will be taken. So with that in mind, can I have a motion to convene an executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Kulkarni.
Aye.
Rooney.
Aye.
Batson.
Aye.
Benjamin.
Aye.
Carmichael.
Aye.
Drumkey.
Aye.
Hessel.
Aye. Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Are we good? I move to return to open session.
Second.
Roll call.
Rooney.
Aye.
Batson.
Aye.
Benjamin.
Aye.
Carmichael.
Aye.
Drumkey.
Aye.
Hessel.
Aye.
Kulkarni.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Batson.
Aye.
Benjamin.
Aye.
Carmichael.
Aye.
Drumkey.
Aye.
Hessel.
Aye.
Kulkarni.
Aye.
Rooney.
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned.
Can we help